Americans. Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. It's time for Outside the Box with Lincoln Stars head coach Rocky Russo and Lincoln Stars broadcaster Joel Norman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back again with another edition of Outside the Box, being brought to you by Raising Cane's here on 93.7 The Ticket. As you heard, as always, it's myself, Joel Norman, and the head coach of the Lincoln Stars, Rocky Russo, joining us. Rocky, glad to have you back after a week off. How you doing?
I'm good, Joel. Thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Ready to go for you here with another show coming up. The Stars are going to be on the road this weekend, taking on the Waterloo Blackhawks on Friday, 7:05 p.m. game for that one, and then at 6 o'clock the next night at Des Moines. So a road swing coming up. We haven't had too many of these recently besides, the end of the 2022 calendar year, a couple of games on the road, but this is the first time really going, a longer drive in quite a while, probably since the last time we went to Waterloo, Rocky.
Where we're located is just fantastic. Obviously, we've got an hour to Omaha, 2 hours to Sioux City, 3 hours to Des Moines, 4 hours to Sioux Falls. We're very fortunate as far as location goes. So I think we spend as many hotel nights throughout the course of the entire season here as I probably did in a month in Amarillo, Texas. So I know my kids and my wife certainly appreciate that. And I do too. I love being able to get back home at a decent hour and not feel like I got run over by a truck on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's worked out really well to start the schedule. I think the only real overnights so far have been the Fall Classic, the trip to Pittsburgh, and Waterloo. First time we went there. So
we do have 2 trips to Fargo remaining.
That's true.
I think one of them's actually a pretty tough one because we're in Fargo Friday, Saturday, and then Sioux City on Sunday. So That'll be a long one. We'll leave Thursday and not get back till Sunday night. But overall, I think we're pretty fortunate.
The month of February in general, that travel really gets out. The schedule gets a little bit more hectic as well. But you look at that travel side of things, Rock, you hear in every sport that kind of can bring the team closer together. Is that something you're looking forward to maybe about some of these opportunities coming up? It's already a tight-knit group, but obviously nice to get some more chances to bond.
Yeah, it's actually something that, I didn't consider all that much because in my entire career, I've been in locations where we had to be on the bus a lot and in hotels a lot. So when I got here and realized, hey, we don't spend a whole lot of time on the bus and in hotels and, away from our own facilities, it became a challenge to really focus on that team building element at times. And it's something that I can continue to still work on, but it came naturally when you're on the road so much. So I know at times the guys look forward to getting to experience that stuff. And as much as I love being home with my family, I do too, because I know how important it is for our group.
Coming off a weekend in which you guys faced the Sioux City Musketeers, one of these teams we mentioned we haven't seen a ton of. And a lot of these games coming up, these aren't the Tri-City weekends. This isn't an Omaha weekend. This is a lot of different opponents who the Stars have hardly seen or have not seen at all in some cases. So what were some of the biggest things you learned from this weekend with Sioux City? A couple of tough losses.
We didn't play well. Obviously, we weren't, we were slow to start in both games and didn't really generate a whole lot. We generated nothing 5-on-5 in the 2 games, which is very uncharacteristic of us. But we didn't even draw. We drew 1 power play on Saturday night, and there's certainly no excuses. We had a bad weekend, and that's sometimes happens to the best of teams. But we had a challenging weekend or week of practice last week. We had quite a few guys out with the flu and with strep throat and just really under the weather, and practice got altered, and some of our skill sessions got canceled, and just trying to give them enough time to rest and get back to 100%. And I know there were some guys still fighting it over the weekend, but that doesn't matter. You've got to find a way to play, and the guys know that. We're not going to make any excuses about our performance and effort this weekend. It certainly wasn't good enough, but it's a great opportunity to learn and to grow. And fortunately, nobody won the Clark Cup this weekend, and so there's no reason to press a panic button. We just have to refocus and be prepared for a big weekend coming up.
You had a really good line that I liked last Friday after that game when we were chatting, and you were saying, it's like this. These are the things that's going to happen. You're coaching teenagers. There are things you have to keep that focus locked in sometimes. Talk to me, expand on that a little bit more. Some of the things that you really enjoy about coaching this age group, but some things you also realize this is something that, you always have to be prepared for.
I love coaching this age group, and obviously I've been doing it now for 18 years. They're generally they're great kids, and they're really driven to reach the next level. I haven't coached pro hockey. I've been around it from time to time, but it's a different element when the players are getting a paycheck. And so here they're still battling, and in the North American League, it was even different because those guys are just battling to get their Division I scholarship. Here, it's a foregone conclusion that if you're in this league long enough, you're going to end up with a Division I scholarship opportunity. So, you have to find other things that drive those guys, and they want to play in the National Hockey League. And so they're elite athletes that are really driven and focused, and that's great. And I enjoy that part, but it's also like, what's the movie 50 First Dates, where, every day he's got to pop the video in and kind of remind her of what they are. And, I feel like at times with every group, not just this group, like I need to pop the video in, like, hello, you're a member of the Lincoln Stars, and this is how we play, and this is what we do. And oh, by the way, this is what we practiced yesterday, and you should remember that today. And so there's constant reminders of, how we're supposed to play and why we're supposed to play the way we do. And, I get frustrated at times, like anybody else. And I kind of look at them from time to time and be like, guys, what are we doing here? Like, why do I have to go back to what we taught in September right now? I know we need a refresher from time to time, but we need to be able to retain this information and execute it so that we can advance and start to add layers to the things that we do. And so, that's the thing. If there's anything that I get frustrated about, but more than anything, I want them to understand that your margin for error is so small when you get to the NCAA level, and the rosters are bigger. There's less games. You're battling for a lineup position night in and night out. And if you can't go out and execute your neutral zone forecheck, if you don't know all the different face-offs, if you can't switch from a 2-1 to a 1-2 to a flush on your forecheck, like shift to shift, if you can't do those things, you're not going to play, because that's big money athletics, and coaches making $500,000 a year, and tournament on the line, and the pairwise, and so you have a bad weekend, you drop in the pairwise, it could affect your opportunity to make the national tournament, which is millions of dollars for your university. So those coaches aren't able to have the same patience with their players that we necessarily can here, and it's a big time business there. And I just tell the guys, hey, your coaches are gonna like you, and they're gonna respect you at the next level, but this is probably the last time that your coaches are gonna truly love you and truly just want to make sure that you do everything you can to grow and develop as a player and as a person. And when you get to the next level, if you can't help that guy win, you're probably not going to be there very long. Or if you are, you're going to be sitting in the stands, and then you're not going to be happy. So it's my job and our staff's job to prepare our players for that and put them in those situations where they understand the urgency of executing these things, because it's going to be the difference between whether they're playing every night and playing special teams, or they're sitting up in the stands taking stats.
Yeah, a big difference between the two, obviously. But I like how you bring up that this being kind of that last level of that love for the players too, because you kind of can see that throughout. It's such a long season for us there's a lot of opportunity for guys to grow, and it is a developmental league. That's a line you've used a lot. This is still a developmental league. You're working on these guys. How much is that something you realize maybe while a season's going on, or is it more after a season where you're like, boy, I really was impressed with how he improved, or is it during the season you're looking at the guys and you're going like, there's things I think I can get this out of him.
You know what? You project where you think a player can be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. With a lot of these guys, it's a 2 or 3 year process for as long as we have them. And, I've been doing this long enough that I know that I watch that 9-month development from training camp till the end of the season. And you just see guys improve so much. You see the team take off and the systems take hold, and the structure and the culture and everything that we believe in. And that's really fun. That's the best part of what I do is watching them develop and grow. Then your season ends and 4 months later you start over again and you're like, oh man, I just did this and now I'm starting from scratch again. And so there's that momentary like frustration, but then that goes away really quickly. And that excitement of being able to do it over again is really cool. And so I think that that's what makes this job so special is it's a clean slate every year. And obviously it's not necessarily a clean slate for every player, because some guys are coming back as a second-year player, a third-year player. Their roles are different. Their responsibilities are different. The expectations are different. But from a team perspective, it's a new team. And I always try to remind the guys, like, the year goes by really fast. Although it feels like a grind, and on a day-to-day basis, you're tired and you're a little sick and you're worn down, but you're going to pick your head up and it's going to be May. And you're never going to sit in the same room again with this exact group the way it's constructed right now. You'll be with some of these guys again in other situations. Maybe you're back here again. Maybe some of you going to the same school, but this is a special group. It's a unique group. It's like a snowflake, right? Like there's no group that's exactly the same. And so, in college, you get a big chunk back every year. And so you at least feel remnants of that. But from year to year in this league, if you get 7 or 8 guys back, that's a big group to return. And, this year we had 3 or 4 forwards up front. We had 2D. We had a goalie. That was it. Like, the whole rest of the group is new. And so you've got to teach them about the expectations of the organization on the ice, off the ice, in the community, and your billet homes. What's expected of them on a daily basis, what the routine is like. I mean, you are literally starting from scratch. You're housebreaking a dog, so to speak. And sometimes you got to swat them on the nose with the newspaper, but they know that, when we're hard on them, it's because we love them and we want them to succeed and grow. And there's nobody more proud of these young men when they step up to the next level and continue to do great things. And, I texted Dalton Norris a couple weeks ago and he finally scored his first goal in college. It was, such an exciting thing for him. I talked to a lot of guys from time to time, but, when it comes to the development thing, I think back to near the end of the year last year, we were doing a drill and Lucas Wallen caught a puck in the high slot and all in one motion, weight shift, zing, bar down. And I'm like, whew. I said, there's no way he could have done that 5 months ago. Like but his development and his continued work, he did so much extra work, and he caught onto the pace and his skill level improved. And, so when you see little things like that, it's very satisfying that you're having a positive impact on these guys and you're helping them become better players and you're helping them become better people. And then you send them off to college and you hope that, some of what you taught them sticks.
So you mentioned that was something that Lucas Wallen did about 5 months in to being with the Stars last year. Let me ask you this. We're about 4 months into this season since the start of it, mid-September. Who's a couple of guys maybe who stood out to you with just where they've grown as players or little things they've done that you've said, wow, that's not something I would have seen in September?
You know what? You do see flashes of it with a lot of guys, but, you see guys turn the corner and take that next step. And, it's funny because Jared Mangan was playing some of his best hockey a couple weeks ago, and then not that anybody had a great weekend last weekend, but he didn't have a very good weekend, not a bad weekend, but he raised that bar in the last couple weeks. And I don't think it was necessarily Jared. I think it's missing Patrick Raftery on that line.
Mm-hmm.
And, it starts to make you realize how important one player is for the success of other players. And when Raf is with Peters and Mangan, they get so much done. And we found some chemistry with that line, and we really like it. But Jared's been making some plays off his half wall that are really impressive to watch. And, every guy has just, they've obviously all gotten better. Some guys get better at a different pace, but everyone has improved and shown some things and done some things lately that for the most part, they maybe weren't capable of doing 4 or 5 months ago. And I mean, you look at Aiden Thompson last year, like Thompson had 38 or 40 points in his rookie year, and it's a great first year. Comes back and he has 82 or 83 points in his second year. And, I'd like to think that the confidence was there with Aiden, but, our relationship that we built was really key for him feeling confident to do the things that he knew he was capable of doing. He just needed to kind of be let off the leash a little bit. And, it's funny, I got told by some other guys when I first took the job here that, hey, Toms can be a challenge to coach. And, sometimes he wants to butt heads with you and this and that. And I've had so many of those guys over the course of my career. I didn't even flinch at it. And then a few months into the season, I'm like, I don't see any of that. Like he's a sponge. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. Is he really like hard on his teammates and, a perfectionist and a competitor? Yeah, of course he is. But that's what you want out of your players, right? He would never expect his teammates to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. And so, I built a relationship with him. I gave him some ownership of the things that we were trying to accomplish, and he ran with it. And he was a guy that I really, really enjoyed having around. Dalton Norris was another one that, he's so mature. He was such a great leader. We have such a good relationship and still do to this day. And I have that with a lot of the guys this year too. And every relationship is different. Some guys have to let the wall down and be willing to build that relationship with you. Some guys are scared to death of me. And I don't know why. If you ask other people, they'll say I'm scary. I don't necessarily think I am, but some guys when I ask them to come to the office, you can just see the terror in their eyes. And
you can go to the principal's office.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is, right? And so with certain guys, I'll give it away if they're listening, but with certain guys that I know are a little uncomfortable, I'll move over to the couch and sit down on the couch and try to create a more relaxed environment. And, there's other guys like Mason who, Mason's comfortable in the office, and I could just stay at my desk and talk to him about whatever it is that I need to talk to him about. But I always just want them to know that our office is a safe space for them, and they can come in and they can talk about anything they want to, and that relationship can continue to develop and grow. And I think the better your relationships are with your players, the more they trust you, the more they're willing to work for you, and because they know in turn we're willing to work for them. And I tell my guys all the time, I'm here to serve your best interest, and whatever that might be. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be comfortable for you, because when I say that, it's a little bit of a trick response, because sometimes your best interest is to have my foot planted in your backside, right? Or to really, really be hard on you, but not because I'm mad at you or I don't like you, but because I do care about you and I do want to see you reach your fullest potential, and being pushed out of your comfort zone is in your best interest. But that's something that has to be learned through relationships and trust, and that takes time.
I imagine, just like you said, that's something that probably takes time for them to realize as well.
Yeah, and we do have a couple questions from the text line that I want to get to, or comments. Gene in Lincoln says, great movie analogy, referring to the 50 First States, where you have to put that tape in every now and again to remind the players they are a Lincoln Star. And then Bryce says, the energy in the icebox is different this year, Coach. The fans are buzzing and great things are happening. Love working for the Stars.
How about that?
Those are two great comments, especially the second one there. I mean, when I took this job, it was, the Lincoln Stars was like the mecca of junior hockey for all these years, and I expected to come and there'd be a big press conference and the media wants to talk, and I come in and I'm like, I don't see a Stars logo. I don't see any interest in the organization. Like, things had gone the wrong way for a few years, and who knows why or how, but they hadn't been in the playoffs for a while, and I didn't want to do anything to be a savior. That wasn't my job. My job was to try to instill the culture that I knew could help us win hockey games, and once you do that, the other stuff starts to take care of itself. And our front office has done a great job of really marketing and promoting the product. I think our hockey operations staff has done a great job of recruiting and drafting and putting good players in the locker room for our staff to coach. And then we've gotten a lot of buy-in from our players. So, when you go to the rink and there's 3,000 plus on a Friday night, and it's an exciting, loud environment, and the fans are into it, and you're getting a big win, like, who doesn't want to play in a situation like that? And winning 35 games last year was great for putting that brand back on the map here in the community, and we're rolling it back and trying to do the same thing this year. And I think the response from our fans and from the corporate sponsors and the community and the fan base has been just incredible. So hopefully we can continue to build on that and grow. And I do feel something special in that building. It's every night the fans are out in droves, and they're energetic and they're excited, and getting to spend a couple minutes talking to folks after the game and just hearing that genuine enthusiasm in their voice is really reassuring that Lincoln Stars hockey is back and better than ever.
It does feel like something special is really starting to build, and that's what I've enjoyed especially. I mean, you just look at, like you said, a couple weeks ago, the excitement, just having that packed house, 3,000 plus, you throw in with a shootout winner. It doesn't get any better than that. Those are the games I think everyone, fans, players, coaches, myself, just, broadcasting and watching the game, that's what you dream about, is those kinds of nights.
And we had, and you can talk to your next guest a little bit about some crazy moments that we had last year. Like, we beat Waterloo once last year. We scored 5 goals in the third period and beat them 5-4, I think. We were down by 2 with 1:20 left against Des Moines. We tied it and won it in overtime. Lucas Wallen scored an incredible shootout winner. There was so many crazy comebacks and heart pounding moments that all occurred in the ice box last year. And I feel like those moments resonated throughout the fan base and the community and generated that buzz. And, we've been able to have a lot of those great moments again this year. And fortunately, we still have a lot more to come here in the second half of the season.
That's what hockey's all about, is those kinds of, just those, pulsating moments that get your blood really going and get you fired up as well. I wanted to go back, Rocky, from before. You were mentioning Patrick Raftery, missing him on that line with Keaton Peters and Jared Mangan. So Raftery's missed, I think it's 3 games now. What's his status? How's he doing in his recovery? And what are you missing, especially about what he brings to the lineup?
As far as his status, I don't know. That's up to Corey. I'm optimistic that he's going to be back soon. Will that soon be Friday? I'm not sure yet. I hope so. But we would always err on the side of caution to make sure that he's 100% before he comes back, because we do want him to be in the lineup, because he is so important to us. And he's important because, as a second-year player, he's got a lot of experience. He went through some hard times last year, came out of it a better player. His wall play is fantastic. He's a big reason why we break pucks out consistently. His motor never stops. He's first on the forecheck. He finishes his checks. He goes to the hard areas. He kills penalties. He's such a vital piece to our success. And, he's a perfect example of, he doesn't have a ton of points this year. Obviously, he's not a big point producer yet. Yet is the key word, because I do believe that it's going to happen. And I think he's going to score more the second half. He's going to score a lot next year before he goes to college. But what he brings is invaluable to our team. And much like Brennan Ali, like those guys start the engine every game, and our bench gets excited when they're dogging pucks and they're finishing checks and they're playing with such pace and physicality, and it kind of becomes infectious. And I felt like we really missed that this weekend. And I mean, anybody that watched the games this weekend saw we looked slow, we looked tired, and I do think that had a lot to do with guys just being drained from being sick and having a tough week. But you got to fight through those. You got to find a way to mentally push through when you're physically not feeling great. And that's a valuable lesson for our guys to learn.
Are there things you do maybe in the in the middle of the season like this, when it's a slow period where it feels like, it's a little flat right now? Is there anything you do to kind of spice things up?
We'll do something different occasionally. We'll have a fun day. We'll have a compete day. We'll have a skill day. We'll have a 3-on-3 tournament. We'll watch some different type of video as opposed to just kind of our stuff. I will cancel a day of practice here or there if they look like they need it. It's really important for me to gauge when they need some time off and they need some recovery, and most importantly is them understanding why I'm doing it. Because again, these guys are so driven and they want desperately to be high-end hockey players that they don't understand that sometimes you need that recovery time and you need to get away from the rink so that you can physically recover, but also so you can mentally recover and come in fresh the next day. And if I give them a day off, the first thing they say is, well, is the ice open? Can I come and skate? And I'm like, no, get out of here. Like,
I saw that last week.
Nothing earth shattering is going to happen if you take one day off of the ice. And in fact, I was just reading an article about young players now and how much they want to be on the ice and how it's becoming detrimental. And they were contributing Cole Caulfield's season-ending injury to over practicing, and I didn't get the specifics of the injury or how or why they relate, but I just found the article interesting because I'm like, I totally understand these guys. They want so badly to succeed, and they're willing to do all this work. And so you have to almost put the reins on them a little bit and say, all right, like I'm gonna take it away from you. I remember Bob Woods is a good friend of mine, and back when I was coaching in Philly, I coached his son, and he was coaching in Anaheim with Bruce Boudreau, and they had to hide Teemu Selanne's skates. Literally had to hide his skates because they're like, Teemu, you're old. First of all, you're like 40 some years old, which I am too, but I wasn't playing in the National Hockey League. And you need rest. And he would sneak to the rink and he would skate. And yeah, I mean, he had a key, right? A lot of those guys at that level do. And he had a key and he would sneak in and he would skate. And Bob's like, we actually hid his skates because it was the only way to keep him off the ice. And that's just guys that want to play professional athletics are wired differently. And so they want to work on their craft constantly, and they don't always realize the value of the rest.
Yeah, it's all about trying to manage all of that as well. Well, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll have more in just a moment. This is Outside the Box, chatting about Lincoln Stars hockey, being brought to you by Raising Cane's here on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Megan Whitaker from the Nebraska golf team. If you've put your clubs away for the winter, it's time to get them back out. There's no need to stop thanks to Double Eagle Golf. Double Eagle is home to Lincoln's best golf simulators. for every level of golfer, with everything from casual games for the kids to hyper-realistic simulations of some of the best courses in the world. And the best part, no matter what the weather's doing outside, it's always golf weather inside. See for yourself. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit asiaretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Veterans, do you know what local, state, and federal benefits and services you're eligible to receive? Do you want help navigating the application or appeals process? Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. You've served our country, now let us serve you. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Are you tired of the same old entertainment options? How about something that's truly fun for both kids and adults? Nebraska Knockerball, the new place to go for your private and corporate parties. Step inside one of their inflatable spears and let out stress in a healthy form of exercise. Or try the human foosball, foot darts, yard pong, giant beer pong, basketball Connect 4, and much more. Nebraska Knockerball, specializing in physical, engaging fun. Call Nebraska Knockerball today at 402-460-8724 to learn more or book a reservation now.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
It's time for Outside the Box with Lincoln Stars head coach Rocky Russo and Lincoln Stars broadcaster Joel Norman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Well, typically at this point, on Outside the Box, being brought to you by Raising Cane's. We bring on a couple of player guests, but the man to my left may be a little bit too old for his eligibility in the USHL. But we're happy to have him nonetheless. Tim Gray from the Lincoln Journal-Star joining us. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. Nice to get you out here for this. I figured we'd change things up a little bit. It's been an interesting season to this point. You've got. I thought it'd be fun to get someone else's observations. I think people hear mine. They hear the coaching staffs as well. Well, let's get someone from outside of the team. Give me just some of your takeaways from this Lincoln Stars team pretty much at the halfway point of the season.
It's kind of been, it's been really good up to this point. Obviously this last weekend didn't go their way, but you're going to have that, sometime in the season. And, it's just kind of like Rocky was alluding to, kind of get away from the ice and reset. And I think we'll be just fine. You got some players that you kind of defensively, you might get a little offensive driven. But, when they do their job, they can shut down anybody in this league. You talk about a bad weekend against Sioux City, but you dominated Fargo the weekend before. Yeah. So, I mean, they're right there, and they'll be right there at the end of this thing.
Yeah, right now the Stars are in third place in the Western Conference. So season ends today. They've got home ice for the first round. I think, am I fair to say this, that you would think, and then they're not always going to admit this, and I know Rocky doesn't like to talk about it, but I've got to think in a way for the Stars, part of that goal has got to be we've got to get one of those top 2 seeds so we can miss the first round because, as you saw last year, it's a pretty quick turnaround from the end of the regular season to the start of that first round.
It is, and the USHL playoffs is that catch-22 because I've seen many times when they went to this format and the teams that miss the first, get the first round bye, they get their butts kicked. And when that team comes out, because, you've got a team that's either played 2 games and they get 1 or 2 days off and they come in and they've been on the ice while the other team's just kind of waiting around to see who they're going to play. And they think it's going to be a cakewalk. And the USHL in the playoffs is no cakewalk. Home ice would be good. I would like to see a 1 to top 2 spot because it shows what you've done in the regular season. Yeah. But at the same time, you make the playoffs, anybody's got a shot.
Yeah, and we saw that last year with Waterloo pulling off the upset against the Stars. And speaking of Waterloo, a team who Stars going to get a chance to see this coming Friday, I'm really excited for this one because they've made some acquisitions. They've gotten some pretty good talent in there. Mikko Matika recently from Madison, best player on that team. He had more points than anyone on the Waterloo roster, but at the time they acquired him. Obviously, that's changed since then, but I wonder, obviously we're not going to ask Rocky this either. This is why I was glad to have you on. I wonder if we're going to see the Stars do something maybe in the coming weeks. What do you think is maybe something they could use right now to upgrade in?
Just a kind of one of those all-around players. Again, you've got, Mason Marcellus offensively that can score, has got a lot of assists. Guys that, they need a really good two-way forward, somebody that can put up points but also play defense. And then another guy like Doug Grimes, because Grimes in the front of the net is a fierce to be reckoned with. And you get a guy like that on the second or third line or even the fourth line that's maybe not going to find a lot of minutes, but in front of the net, anything can happen. And goals sometimes are hard to come by on a given night, and sometimes they come in bunches. So if they can just get another forward point producer, somebody that can be on that second power play unit and just not leave it up to the first, because you saw that stretch there where, what was it, 3 or 4 games where it was the top power play unit. It was Tanner Ludke scoring and stuff like that. But, just get one of those role guys that, maybe has another year in the USHL. And, like Rocky was talking to about, finding that offensive scoring threat or point production in the second year. You see a lot of that in the USHL on guys' second year. Earlier in the year when I, did a story on Tanner Ludke, he had one goal last year, and he's up to what, 19, 20 this year?
I think he's got 17 right
17,
now. And he matched that total 14 seconds into the season this year.
Yeah, I mean, another guy I was talking about is Jack Bedini. When we were talking about making acquisitions, when the Stars made that big playoff push where they got, 2 guys from Chicago and somebody else and player to be named later, and they picked up Jack Bedini, who had, I think, maybe 2 goals, 7 points that season for the Stars. Went to Chicago and scored, 27 easy goals. Played an NHL draft pick now and stuff like that. But yeah, if they can just get somebody that comes in and fills a role that can kind of, when a guy goes down, that guy can step up.
I love that you brought up the point of having someone to help that second power play unit. The one thing I've noticed, what was missing so much from the top unit was Doug Grimes, having a net front presence. And when I look at this team, there's a problem is that without Grimes, you don't really have a net front presence. There's been times I've seen Brennan Ali used in that role, and I've always thought, boy, I'd rather have him facilitating the puck. The way he can possess it, the way he moves on the ice. I don't want him camped in front of the net, but it works as a size-wise option. So I'm with you. I really think, that power forward option would be really useful to get if they can swing a trade.
And Doug Grimes, to me, is kind of one of those players that you just don't really know what he is. Like, he's got that big body. If you're on the ice, I wouldn't want to face off with him because, he's going to push you around. You see him clear out the crease. But then you watch some of the passes he's making on power play where he just flips it. He's not even looking at Ludke, and he just puts it behind his back through the crease, and Ludke just one-times it. Like, if they can find another guy like that where you put him on the ice and players are going to know where he's at and kind of get their mind of, like, okay, he's here. I don't want to get run over. They need guys like that.
It's the intangibles. It's like you said, it's hard for us, the people outside of the locker room to put a definition on that. But boy, it's just those little things when you see them, that's something that he brings. Tim Gray from the Lincoln Journal-Star joining us. I'm Joel Norman here on Outside the Box, brought to you by Raising Cane's as we're chatting Lincoln Stars hockey ahead of this weekend road trip. They'll take on the Waterloo Blackhawks on Friday, and then this Saturday they will be at the Des Moines Buccaneers. After that, though, a big weekend coming up for the Stars in February where they open up the month. On February 3rd, they'll face the Sioux Falls Stampede before hosting the Sioux City Musketeers. And then after that, going on the road at Sioux City. And Tim, that kind of leads into my next discussion. I don't know if you peek too much into February, but it's a hectic month. There's 2 Sunday games in there, a Tuesday game. There's one stretch where I think there's nine days, and the Stars play all but 4 of them. It gets pretty chaotic in February. I've kind of been saying to people recently, I think we're going to learn a lot about who this team is by the end of that month. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. And those Sunday games are ones you can't sleep on. It's usually, at 1 p.m., 3 p.m., depending on where you're at in the USHL, but typically about a 1 p.m. game at the Ice Box. And, you said there's 2 of them coming up. That's 4 points. 4 points could mean, being in a top 1-2 spot, or it could mean, being on the road for the playoff series. And then, it's kind of nice for playing other opponents than Tri-City, where they've seen Tri-City, 8 of the 12 times this year, or
10 of 13 already.
13, yeah. And, you get some different teams, some ways to reset, teams that have only scouted you, haven't really played you yet. And it's just kind of that refresher where, it's part of the season, but it's a whole new season in the second half.
I think you can learn a lot about your team from facing other teams, good and bad. There's going to be some times where, maybe it's an easier matchup for you and you look at it and you go, well, I don't know if we learned as much. Maybe we saw what we can do when we're doing the right things, but I think there's other ones that's going to test this team a little bit. I don't think Sioux City was a team we maybe expected to do that, but it could be a really good learning lesson for the team.
And have you been to Waterloo yet?
Yeah, we went there November 18th and 19th and got swept that weekend.
Yeah,
so
Waterloo is always an interesting one to me because they have the Olympic-sized rink, and you ask players all the time where, Stars have one of the smallest rinks, and it's either Lincoln's going to have a lot of speed and they're going to have a lot of ways to open stuff up, but, it's Waterloo's home rink. They played it on the entire time. So, and there's been times at the Icebox there this year where you've seen the puck bounce certain ways, and Waterloo's going to know on a big rink where the puck goes and stuff like that. So it's going to be a good test to see where Lincoln is on an actual size, Olympic rink.
I love that you brought that up because for me, the first matchup of the season with them, it was evident minutes into the game. Not only that they knew where the puck was going to go on their own ice, but their defensemen were the type that they would all 6 of them would pinch up. They could get back so easily because they were that good of skaters. They were that smart offensively and defensively. It's a really talented team on the blue line. And I was chatting with Sioux City's broadcaster, Curtis Anderson, last week, and we were in agreement. We said that's the best team in this division. We really feel like they're the most complete right now. That the Stars were ahead of them for a little bit. Fargo is still ahead of Waterloo. I think Waterloo is the most complete team on paper, and I think that's going to be a fun thing for Stars fans to see is when you get a chance to see them and Lincoln battling once it's here in Lincoln, but that's not until the beginning of March. So this is a game I've been telling people, this is one to keep on Friday, even though you're not going to be able to see it in person. Tim, we talked a little bit about some of your storylines. You were talking about Tanner Ludke. You've done a couple of other fun pieces this year I've enjoyed. What's been a couple of the fun storylines maybe fans haven't heard about from this team? Little things you've kind of learned about some of these guys this year.
Just, we were texting earlier about Paul Cotter. He's a big one. He was loved here in Lincoln. Having a great rookie year in Vegas. I knew a lot about Paul, going into it, and then there's all the stuff that didn't go into the story. Like his sister's the number 3 ranked recruit in lacrosse. I think she's committed to Syracuse. His little brother's playing hockey in Canada. And talking to Paul's mom, Lisa, you watch the Vegas interviews and you got guys like Jack Eichel, talking about, he missed on a breakaway and Cotter scores on a breakaway. He's like, maybe I should just do what Paul does or something like that. And, Lisa alluded to, Paul just brings that, make the game fun again. Like a lot of guys she sees that, the game ends, they're tired. They just want to go home, see their kids, see their family. They've been in the league for 14 years. And now those guys have a rejuvenation of, this game's fun again. And it's not just a job. So that's one of them. You
had a good one about Boston Buckburger and cereal. You want to touch on that one briefly? That's a little different than the Paul Cotter one, but it's still fun.
Yeah, and that one amazed me too. And just little things like you're in the office and after a game and somebody mentions cereal and Boston's like, yeah, I haven't. We have cereal in Canada, but not like in the United States. Like there's 45 different versions of Cheerios or Fruity Pebbles and stuff like that. And so I know he really likes Cocoa Pebbles. That's Ryan and Lori really got him on that. And it's always kind of the joke of he has to earn his Cocoa Pebbles to, if he plays well and stuff like that. But, I've done stories on too of, I think Patrick Vertman. He was a former goaltender that year where I think 2015 with back up to Peyton Jones, and guys like that come over and, they're not used to the food here and stuff like that. And on the bus ride, guys are trying to get him to eat trail mix and stuff like that. And he thinks it's some kind of prank or something like that, but it's seriously just nuts and raisins and M&Ms. And, guys have to adjust to that. So it's kind of cool to always see guys adjust to life outside of hockey and how it always kind of impacts them on the ice too.
I enjoy those stories a lot as well. Really enjoyed that one with Buckburger in particular. We'll take a quick break. We're chatting with Tim Gray from the Lincoln Journal-Star. More to come in a moment. This is Outside the Box, being brought to you by Raising Cane's on 93.7 The Ticket.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
And wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakomick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakomick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that.
I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah, check my backpack.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend almost died. It saved his life.
I'm so sorry. That makes me want to have it with me too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Paid for by the CDC. Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's time for Outside the Box with Lincoln Stars head coach Rocky Russo and Lincoln Stars broadcaster Joel Norman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Last segment of Outside the Box brought to you by Raising Cane's here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Joel Norman. We're chatting Lincoln Stars hockey, and tonight we're joined by Tim Gray from the Lincoln Journal-Star. And Tim, you were here at the end of when Rocky was on talking a little bit about the guys, just their hunger to be on the ice at all times. You were telling me off air that brought up a story. Let's hear that. And that's all the fans here.
Yeah. So going back to, making the game fun again, the way Paul Cotter, when he skates on the ice, kind of described it to me is like it's the best time of his life. And, he was telling teammates that he'd go to practice, you're on the ice to practice, and he would be on the ice 4 to 5 times, sometimes a day. And I was just like, are you serious? Because my legs would fall off. I can't skate anyway, so they'd probably fall off. But how skating is on your legs, and 4 to 5 times was just amazing. Like, what else are you gonna do? And he's just like, I just love it. Like, if I'm not on the ice, I don't know what to do. So, then we talked about off air too about, a couple of years ago when the Stars weren't having the best season, and you can just see it in the guys. And Matthew Barbolini spent hour and a half after practice just skating by himself. And in my eyes, I guess the ice is a special place for some of these players because it's just kind of their safe haven and they do need days off, but you got to love to see the drive of wanting to be on the ice too. When Rocky says no. But
no, I respect that about them, and I appreciate that passion. I think our fans should as well. We mentioned Paul Cotter a few times. How fun is it for you to watch guys who played for the Stars, who you've gotten a chance to observe, to talk with, now to see them in the NHL? How cool is that? And what do you see, like maybe when they do, their interviews, you say, no, I remember when they did that here, same kind of tendencies.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and going back to Paul Cotter, sorry, but I mean, it's a great feeling to watch guys, and it's not just guys that played for the Stars. It's guys that I saw at the Icebox: Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk,
crazy to think
Spencer
of names
Knight,
here.
But Carter's one to lead to is you watch. Is what gave me the story idea was at the Icebox he pulls off a shootout move, and it's the same move he used in the NHL to I think beat the Rangers. And nobody else has scored, and he comes out and you put the two videos side by side, and the goalie bites and moves forward the same way, and Cotter scores, celebrates the same way, and it's just, you look at it and it's like, I know I saw that somewhere years ago, and It's just cool to watch.
I remember you were at our office that day and you were looking and you finally found the clip, and it's like you said, you put them side by side. It's the same moves. And that game when he did that with the Golden Knights, I remember him saying something after the game, like, I've been doing this move for years, just got an opportunity to do it tonight. And it's like, that's kind of cool when that happens.
Yeah, and I think he said he started that move back in Little Caesars U15 or U16.
So that old of a move then.
And Lisa, his mom, said they played his clips from like when he was younger too, when they were in Columbus, because he's from Michigan, and so like they got to go watch him play. And and even Paul said, he's like, I have probably 75 videos of that same move on my phone. And I'm just like, he's like, I've got to find B, C, and D options instead of just option A, because somebody's going to catch on at some point. But
yeah, just to change it up a little bit here. Winding things down here on Outside the Box. Tim, last question for you real quickly here. What are some things you're looking forward to watching with the Stars this weekend against Waterloo and Des Moines?
Just how the defense responds, giving up, 4-goal leads to Sioux City. If Lincoln gets a quick one, they're somewhere in between. Those outcomes can change. And I just want to see how Lincoln responds on the road, because those road games are just as important. For a season, Rocky always talks about winning, was it 75% of your home games? Something like that. You want to win about 75% of your home games, but you want to be tough on your opponent when you're on the road. So we'll see how they do on the road and hopefully get 2 wins.
Well, thanks for joining us here tonight. Thanks, everyone, for listening. It's been Outside the Box here on 93.7 The Ticket.